Shabbat Shalom. As we finish out this week of truly outrageous news, many of us find ourselves asking the question, does anything shock us anymore? Are we stunned by any manner of vile behavior? Or are we living in a world so inundated with corruption and fraud, exploitation and lies that these offenses barely register? These last few days, we've been deluged with the outsized drama concerning former President Trump, the FBI, and the New York Attorney General, even as he's navigating several other investigations for issues like wire fraud, election tampering, and defamation, to name but a few. A few days before that news broke, we bore witness to the defamation trial against Alex Jones, whose sickening lies and disinformation about Sandy Hook continued even through his court proceedings. The list of utterly appalling events could go on. Our news cycle is full of them, so full that we are no longer surprised by what we see or hear. We may be weary or disgusted or even outraged, but we're not surprised. It's all become so par for the course and, dare I say, normalized. Sadly, we've come to expect such behavior from our politicians, our pundits, our celebrities, and, well, everybody, because this is just where society is right now, right? Well, maybe. But Judaism has never been a religion of resignation or blind acceptance of the status quo. It has always been rooted in action, indeed, in movement towards a better, more righteous future. And as Jews, it is incumbent upon us to push back against this acquiescence, against this feeling that life simply is what it is, and that's that. My teacher, Rav Yitz Greenberg, reminds us, Judaism is the religion of Tikkun Olam. Its most revolutionary claim is that this world is a creation intended by its creator to be made into a paradise. Yes, this world is meant to be a paradise, and this paradise is a world of dignity and equality and health for all. It is a world without oppression, without baseless hatred, without violence or war. But this messianic vision of a harmonious world will only be brought into being through a covenant, a partnership between God and humanity. We are essential players in the remaking of our world. It cannot happen without us. This week, we read the second portion in the book of Deuteronomy called Va'et Hanan. In it, we recall some of the greatest hits of Israelite history, like the Exodus from Egypt and the giving of Torah at Sinai. We also get a repetition of the Ten Commandments, and we even hear the Shema. Woven into these texts is a firm emphasis on this idea of covenant. We hear in several iterations, our God made a covenant with us. Take care then not to forget the covenant. God will not forget the covenant made on oath with your parents. What we learn again and again is that our partnership, our covenant with God, is at the very center of our faith. We must uphold our end of the agreement, and God will do so in return. It's a two-way street. It always has been, and it always will be. But what exactly is our role in this covenant? Rav Greenberg offers a very compelling answer by way of laying out 3 eras of Jewish history and 3 corresponding models of covenant. In the biblical era, God played a very outsized role in this covenant. God speaks from heaven, God intervenes regularly, and God openly pulls the strings of history. That's the first era. In the second era, during the time of our rabbis, the covenant looks a little different. Here, God self-limits, becoming more hidden, operating more in the natural rather than the supernatural. Humanity becomes a more equal partner with God in the work of repairing the world. But it is the third era, our contemporary world, where the covenantal balance switches dramatically. And this is a crucial piece of Rav Greenberg's teaching. In this third era, our time, God is totally hidden, not absent, but unseen. And we, humanity, have been given full responsibility to live out the Jewish mission. We are at the helm. We are the decision makers, the planners, the visionaries. And while there are no Red Seas parting in our world, there are more miracles than ever, but they are manifest through human ingenuity. We see miracles in modern medical breakthroughs like vaccines, organ transplants, through amazing feats of technology, through agricultural and ecological innovations. And God is present everywhere, but God's presence must be uncovered and discovered and experienced. As my colleague, Rabbi Jen Schlossberg, explains, over time, God has become more hidden in our lives, and that increases the need for a more human role in creating change in this world. For better or for worse, in this day and age, we are now what Rav Greenberg calls the managing partners in this covenant with God. God has made room for us to lead the charge in the mending of our society. We are responsible for rolling out God's vision of paradise here on earth, for ensuring that this world will be better and more perfect for the next generation and beyond. Given our role here as managing partner, we have no choice but to engage in the world around us. We have no choice but to speak out when we see injustice or immorality. We have no choice but to stand up for the marginalized, to act for the good and the righteous and the moral, because it is on us. And if we don't strive to make this world kinder or gentler or more compassionate, who will? There are no miraculous interventions that will suddenly save us from ourselves. There are no plagues that God can send that will set the oppressed among us free. God may be ever present in this world, but we are now charged with fulfilling God's mission. We are the instruments of redemption here on earth. We are the translators of our Torah too. And we must carry this covenant forward in order to build that better world. In a most extraordinary move, God has contracted to make room for us, so that we may step into our fullest selves and realize our fullest potential to do good, to pursue justice, and to inspire meaningful change. The privilege of this opportunity is as monumental as the responsibility, for we have been entrusted by God to do God's work of repair all around us. The power is in our hands, and the purpose and vision are here in our Torah. It's on us now to realize that vision, no matter how hard it may be or how unrealistic it may seem, especially as we look out onto our very broken world, a world full of corruption and lies, violence, and cruelty. We must hold on to our essential purpose, our sacred responsibility. Tikkun Olam. Rav Greenberg writes, "The perfect world can be reached only by an endless chain of human effort. The actions of one people or any single generation are not enough. The Jews were charged with the mission of being the vanguard of humanity as it walks through history towards the messianic end goal. By their acceptance of the Torah, the Jews promised not to settle or stop short of that goal. This is the Jewish covenant." Ken Yehi Ratzon.